Hey friends, welcome back to Pastor Kevin and Friends. Where am I? Take a guess. No, it's not the ocean. I am at a lake, and not just any lake. This is called Table Rock Lake. Rock, I think, is the best word to describe it because everywhere I look around me, there are rocks. These are little rocks. There are bigger rocks and bigger rocks and bigger rocks, but there are so many different shapes and sizes of rocks. There's also some other things along this shoreline that I found. Look at this feather that I found. Isn't that cool? Some bird pushed it off of its body, or somehow it lost this feather. But that's a big feather. And then there is a shell. I know that's kind of tiny, isn't it? Kind of tiny. It's not a seashell because that's not the sea, that's a lake. But this is a pretty cool place because there's all sorts of rocks. Now, one of my favorite things to do throughout my life has been to come down to the water side and maybe throw in a rock. See, there's a couple different kinds of rocks here. I call that a splash rock. You throw it out there, it hits the water, it makes a big splash. But then there are other rocks like this one. See how smooth that is? If I take it and I throw it flat, see how it skips across the water? That's called a skipper. This big one like this, a splasher. The farther I throw it out, the bigger the splash. Not every one of the skippers skip. That one did. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. I like skipping. Oh, that didn't skip. That was more of a splasher, right? So it's kind of fun to come down here, find the splashers. Let's see if I can see. Yeah, find the splashers and find the skippers. Kind of fun to do, right? But when I do this, it makes me think of a verse in the Bible. In Micah chapter 7, verse 19, it says that God takes the sins that we confess to him and he casts them into the sea where he forgets about them. And we can't go find them. So look at this splasher. Pretty big one, right? I wrote my initials on here. I'm going to throw it really hard. Ready? 1, 2. Pretty good sized splash. I'm not sure how far it went out, but the farther I go out in that water, the deeper it gets. If I were to go swimming, and the reason Holy Cow's not here is he'd probably try to push me in. But if I were to go out swimming and try to find that splasher that I had my initials on it, I might not be able to find it because not too far from here, the water is 20 feet deep. Little farther, not much farther, it drops down to 60 to over 100 feet deep. Pretty deep water. You don't want to be out there with maybe out something to help you float or help you get back because it's a lot of work to swim in that water. But can you imagine going and looking for that splasher in that deep, deep water? You'd run out of breath by the time you got to the bottom. When we confess our sin, when we tell Jesus, I'm sorry, I did wrong, please forgive me, he takes that sin, he casts it deep into the water where we can't go back and get it. So let's stop digging up that old stuff and remember Jesus came to set us free. And if the Son has set you free, you shall be free indeed. Bye-bye.